Hey, so it is Saturday, the 30th of January, as of recording of this video. I'm recording it live, so everyone in chat say hi. You'll be able to show up in the YouTube video. Really cool, really pog. We all love it, right? Well, one thing that happened literally like 20 minutes before stream was one of my favorite YouTubers, PhilosophyTube, released a video on their second channel, PhilosophyTube Live, and it has to do with the release of today's PhilosophyTube video, which releases in, let's see, 54 minutes. And I'm not going to be watching it live. My girlfriend likes watching PhilosophyTube as well, so we're going to be watching that together tonight. But I still thought it was really important to talk about because PhilosophyTube came out as a trans woman, which is huge. That's awesome. I'm really super happy for her. Like, I genuinely am. And I figured we could take a minute and let's watch the video. Let's watch her public coming out video and, kind of see what's going on with it and take a look. So here we have it. God, okay, no, muting this. Sorry, I don't like listening to ads. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Oh, let me turn my shit back on. Chat can go there. That's fine. Is this alerts? This is alerts. All right, and then... You know what, chat will come over here. Sorry, I'm getting everything reset up because I, of course, am now using a 34-inch ultra-wide monitor, which means I've moved everything around. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and watch. Now, I will say I've watched the first minute of this video, and that's kind of when I was like, you know what, I'm going to wait on this, and we're going to talk about it on stream. So let's go ahead and talk. Oh, also, really quick, Abigail Thorne, I'm glad we finally have a left-leaning Abigail on YouTube. Because to my knowledge, the only Abigail on YouTube that was relatively this large is Abigail Shapiro. So, bless. So I think that's actually really cool, and a really interesting way of effectively. Sorry, I'm going to turn this up a little bit so we can hear it. And I thought that was actually a pretty interesting way of her giving out her understanding and her degree. And I think that I've actually kind of toyed with that idea a bit myself, and I've done a little bit of it on this channel previously, where I talk about software and general stuff to how software engineering works and all that kind of stuff. That's what my degree's in. Obviously, it's not in politics. Let's be real here. I'm going to tilt this down just a smidge. There we go. But I actually really like that. Plus, philosophy is a subject I feel is criminally underrated. I don't think a lot of people quite fully understand philosophy when they claim to, and I think she does a really good job of taking it into the modern world. So, yeah, I do want to give her props for that. So, something I thought was interesting with this one is when she's talking about in her most recent video. That's the video that premieres today. Of course, I'm recording this on Saturday. This will probably get put onto YouTube tomorrow, maybe on Monday. I'm not sure, but that's when that'll happen. That's probably when that will come about and kind of come through. So when she's talking about this, that's how you can kind of tell that it's not I don't want people to think that, oh my God, this was something that I missed, because I thought that was the case. I legitimately thought that that's what had happened here. Oh, the video has no audio? What the fuck? Oh my God. Okay, tell me if it's better. Is it better now? We're gonna just rewatch this. Everything y'all like. We'll just rewatch up to the point where we stopped. Wait, what? It's still not better? Oh my god, why is it still not better? Hold on. This is ridiculous. Desktop audio. Sorry. Maybe stream might not be going super long today. Sorry, I'm gonna see if I can't figure this out because this is really strange.
In my most recent video, Identity,
okay, so
I
came
out
desktop
as a
audio, but I don't have
woman.
audio on my speakers now.
Thank you to everyone who kept my secret for such...
Oh my god, I swear. Hold on. Maybe do I have things configured right? Please tell me this.
Such a long time.
There we go.
As I prepared
there we
to
go.
come out
I got
publicly. I'm excited to continue my acting career and philosophy tube. Please respect my privacy.
I just want to do... Okay, sorry. So I just want to hit a couple things. Obviously,
I live in London, and I'm
Abigail
the creator
Thorne.
of Philosophy Tube, an educational show that teaches people about
God, it's gonna be a
philosophy
weird
in a
YouTube
fun
video.
way.
Watching me do adjustments on
I
the
started the show
fly.
almost 7 years ago when the coalition government tripled tuition fees because I wanted to give away...
This is the point where I talk about how I really like what she did here. I'm not gonna go through and redo all this stuff because it's in the video earlier. Feel free to go watch it.
My philosophy degree for free. At time of recording, the show has just over 800,000 subscribers. In my most recent video, Identity, I came out as a transgender woman.
And again, this is something that I was like, oh my god, did this happen? I didn't know. Like, this was just, you know, like, holy crap, news to me. I had no clue. Why the fuck is... Jesus Christ. Okay. God, I hate it when it does that shit. Whatever, that's fine. And so, yeah, this is when I was like, I went to go look it up because I'm like, this... I haven't seen this video. I would have known about it. I get notifications on my phone about Philosophy Tube going live, and this is like complete news to me. And so, yeah, I have no idea. At any rate. So, yeah, that was news. I had no idea, but hey, cool.
Thank you to everyone who kept my secret for such a long time as I prepared to come out publicly. I'm excited to continue my acting career and Philosophy Tube. Please respect my privacy.
So, what's incredible to me is... Oh, hey, thank you so much for the follow, Iron Mage. I really appreciate that. What's impressive to me is that she was able to keep this. Like, she's a very public YouTuber. This is her secondary channel, but if we were to go to her primary channel... And of course, fucking Google doesn't have it updated. But her primary channel is 831,000 subscribers. This is not an easy secret to is not an easy secret to keep. I know, I'm sorry. If I could disable ads on Twitch, I would. Like, but I do appreciate you coming here and watching. This is not an easy secret to keep at someone for this size. Like, she must have either kept to a very small group or a slightly larger group that she trusted a lot, because this was actually pretty impressive. And I will say I did take note of my previous video, or on my previous video, saying, you know, I thought that she looked a bit more feminine, like she'd been on hormones. And my girlfriend was like, I don't really see it. Maybe you're seeing into things. And I'm like, well, maybe I am. So, you know, but she looks good. I'm not going to lie. She looks awesome. I'm fucking jealous.
And treat everyone with kindness and patience, even those who don't treat me kindly.
Only because she asked. Otherwise, if I see motherfuckers on Twitter saying shit about this, I will come to you and I will find you and we will have words.
It's so lovely to finally know, to finally relax, to sleep well with sweet dreams and be at home in myself. But
So that is a very real thing. I know that me personally, when I first went to go transition and I first went to start coming out, that it was like there was a terror there. There was a sense of like, oh my god, what is happening? I don't know if I can handle this. I'm not really in a I'm mentally well placed mentally to be equipped with this kind of information. So definitely I understand where she's coming from. I understand the kind of anxiety that she's likely experiencing here. Like it's not something. Um, God, I would love to go. You should absolutely do that. That sounds incredible. I would love to go see her perform live. Mostly, I would actually just really love to sit down and have a chat with her. But that's another story here and there. I'd love to pick her brain on a few things. Um, but what I think is absolutely incredible is that she's able to do that, because I do remember when I first came out and that feeling of like, oh my god, how does like the amount of like weight that's off your shoulders when you're out publicly, out at work, out in any sort of situation, like it was big when I first came out privately. That was a huge relief, able to talk to people about it, get this off my chest. But then, being able to talk to family and stuff like that. And I still wasn't out at work, but then after a point in time where I finally came out at work, it was one of those things where I'm like, oh my God, this is such an incredible feeling. I don't have to hide anymore. I don't have to go home and live this sort of double life. Everything was incredible. So yeah, I totally get where she's coming from.
But I'm also scared. Things are very, very bad for trans people in the UK right now, and
This is true. This is true. We joke about UK being turf island, but we joke about that being for a very reason. And part of that is because a lot of people who I feel make those jokes are in the situation that I'm in, where we don't live with the repercussions of those particular, like those people. So it's not the same situation that we're in. We're not in that same boat with them. We're in a bit of a different situation here. Like we have our problems, but it's not like an overwhelmingly like there's more TERFs than people is how it feels like in Britain. Everyone over there is like, well, trans people are really bad and shit like that, and it's honestly fucking disgusting. So when we see things, like when we joke about things, we joke about things to actually make it a little bit easier and hope that like I make turf island jokes all the fucking time. And I totally own that, but part of the reason I do that is to make the discussion a little bit easier to have. It's to make the discussion a little bit more in their face, so they come out and they acknowledge that kind of stuff. Hey, thank you for the follow, Miss Misery. So when we go out and we're talking about all this stuff and we're in this, we're making these turf island jokes, it's to, number one, bring them to the front, so they have to own it, they have to admit it. But then for trans people who are in the UK, as it's not a fucking easy place to be, we go through and we want to make them understand that we know what you're going through. And yes, we may be making light of it, but we still treat it as a very serious, very severe subject. So
they're getting worse. Because of my existing following, I have now instantly become one of the most recognizable trans people in the country, and I feel an enormous pressure to be good at it.
So I wasn't necessarily a huge, open, like, amazingly large person. I remember when a celebrity came out and all my teachers told that students, you are not meant to switch your name and pronouns. Yeah, no, that's that does not surprise me. Like, the fact that they're teaching that in schools, I'm assuming that's in the UK, but like that does not surprise me at all. It's a horrible thing that's happening over there. But so I was fairly prominent in my local anime scene. I know, whatever, huge fucking nerd, blah blah blah. Local anime, cosplay, and all that kind of stuff. And I had decided to transition while this scene was I was still pretty big in it. Like there was really, I'm trying to think of like the range that I would say. So I'm in Omaha, and then like I would say anyone from Sioux City, Des Moines, and Kansas City, most people at least knew of me, if not just knew me directly. They had seen me compete, they had seen me perform, they had seen me in all this kind of stuff. So I wasn't like a celebrity or anything, but I was a fairly well-known person. I still kind of am. I don't frequent those scenes as much anymore for a lot of really complicated reasons, but I understand this idea that when you transition, you have to do it perfectly, and it's like I did not do what she did, and I don't want to say I disagree or I should have or anything like that. We had a trans person graduate reform. My boyfriend was in the closet about being. What's the matter, dog? She has a bone and she's upset because she doesn't know what to do with it. Yeah, no, and like that's the thing is like you see that kind of shit and it actually hurts kids. But like I didn't have this huge. I knew I wasn't gonna pass. Hell, I'm like 3 years on hormones, and I still don't think I look super feminine or super great. Like, if it wasn't for my hair, or I'm not wearing makeup today, but if I were to put makeup on, anything like that, like I would be pretty masculine. It doesn't help that I work out and play sports and all that, but so I understand this feeling, and it definitely caused me to rescind back into my shell, which is why I'm not as big in those communities anymore. People don't know me as well, but they still do know me. They still know of me. So yeah, it's just a really interesting situation that we find ourselves in.
Like, if I could only be clever enough, or pretty enough, or funny, or articulate enough, then things would magically come right. Alas, I can't be a perfect paragon of trans Britain. I'm just an actress.
Yep, exactly. And that is a huge thing. That is a huge thing. You can't actually ever, if you're in a situation like she is, or even like the small situation that I was, you can never be the perfect representation. You can only be you, and you can only show the world that, look, trans people aren't just this stereotype. We're a very wide range, and I don't go through and ask for, oh my god, treat me like XYZ and be super special or anything like that. I just go through and say, just treat me like a person, don't misgender me, none of that shit, and I don't think that's too much to ask for.
But I can relay the following facts. Trans people have existed for as long as there has been a Britain. Longer.
This is true. We do have data going back to ancient Egypt and before of people being either transgender or third gender or anything to that aspect. This is something that has been studied, and there is openly very accessible research on this. I know Riley Grace Washong has gone into this. I'm sure that Abigail here is going to go into it a little bit further. So let's listen.
But even after a century of feminism, the government still dictates what we can do with our own bodies.
So I do want to clarify when she says a century of feminism. That's true. Feminism has been going on for roughly 100 years now, a bit longer in the UK, specifically because they were more affected by World War I and World War II. Obviously, they're physically closer. They have a closer proximity to it. But what is the matter? Get it. I'll keep it safe for you, baby. But the fact of the matter is that not all feminism has been super great for trans people. Some of it has been really, really harmful. Second wave feminism is this type of kind of harmful feminism for trans women. Third wave is pretty good. We're starting to see fourth wave, which is even better. But second wave is kind of where a lot of the old school TERFs come at. That's where your J.K. Rowlings, your Maya Forstadters all came into play, or came into kind of understanding of feminist thought and theory. So while I don't want to say all feminism is bad, but there certainly are, we tend to see trends in the second wave and such like that, which is kind of right along with the LGBT pride movement coming around, and LGBT rights kind of rising up, and they were basically doing that to kind of distinguish themselves apart, which I understand, but I think they actually went a bit too hard and a bit too far.
The NHS is forced by outdated rules to discriminate against us. If a cisgender, that is, not trans, woman, wants hormone replacement therapy for menopause, she can get it from the GP. But if a trans person needs the same medicine to transition, we are forced to travel to a separate clinic and be interrogated by psychiatrists.
This is true. This is even there is in the United States, and we're really lucky about having informed consent laws, where basically we try to treat medicine as if you're a consenting adult, all right, whatever, go ahead, do it. But there actually was even a recent court case, UK court case, transgender. I don't remember the whole name of it. Was it this? Right here. Yep, I think this was it. UK court rules against trans clinic over treatment of children. Children under the age of 16 will need court approval in England and Wales to access puberty blockers after a landmark rule. Yeah, because this was the one with, oh god, yep, Cara Bell. Cara Bell was the name of the person. Basically, someone who identified as trans when they were younger, and went as far as getting hormone blockers and like then regretted it and kind of had to live with it, and then when sued the government for not telling her no, which is it's a really weird fucking situation. She's a cisgender woman from my understanding at this point, and was a trans man, and there's a whole lot of weird incongruencies with the stories. I'm not going to get into the whole thing because it's just not the focus of the video here, but it's really fucking sus and really fucking like out there. The priestess of Ishtar, Mesopotamia, were majority Amen. Yeah. The priestess. Yep. No. Yeah. Exactly. Well, and there's also another reason for that. With the Ishtar, with why there was, because that was another weird issue where men were commonly seen to have roles, but Ishtar was kind of a subversion stuff. Yeah, no. So even here, like even where I live, we still see TERFs crash Pride, and it's fucking stupid because there's TERFs that are like LGBT, and I'm like, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of here. So yeah, no, this absolutely is the case. It's actually much harder now, whereas currently we have informed consent clinics. So basically the difference between Abigail and me going to get hormones is she had to go see a psychiatrist and be interrogated and blah 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 blah. I still went to therapy and I still saw a psychiatrist, but for completely unrelated reasons. And I picked my therapist specifically because she specialized in transgender clients, which is good. If you are transgender, I would highly, highly, highly recommend reaching out to a therapist who is specializing in transgender therapies. But when it went to actually go get hormones, I didn't have a letter. I didn't require a letter. I was in for an annual checkup, and my doctor was like, hey, you want those titty Skittles? And I'm like, yeah, give me that good shit. And that's basically how that went down. Like, I got a referral from him to go see a OBGYN. And from there, they were just like, okay, here's a script, take it whenever you want. Because I was like, oh, I'm not super 100% sure if I want to take this right now. But I ended up taking it. Everything ended up being good. So, it was one of those things where it's definitely kind of like your mileage may vary on this, but it's categorically easier in the States. Like, not even a consideration of how much easier it is.
Because of this discrimination, waiting lists are years long. Women like me die waiting for the exact same medicine that bald men get from the GP to treat hair loss. Trans men.
Yep, that is true. One of the things that there are certain medications that trans women will take that will help promote hair regrowth.
Die waiting for breast reduction surgery that cis women get for back pain. In England and Wales, people under 16 can get an abortion, which is permanent, but they can't get life-saving puberty blockers.
So I will say, I think I have a disagreement with the stance on abortion being permanent because it gets into weird territory, but I understand the point that she's getting at. Abortion's a really weird subject with me because there's a lot of facts and misinformation and stuff that I don't feel that a lot of online figures can effectively put out there. In a sense, like, even though she did a fucking amazing video with an analogy for abortion in it, actually probably one of the best analogies for abortion, modified slightly. Vosh did a really good job about like kind of modifying that to be a better analogy, but I disagree with the idea of abortion being permanent because it's really not permanent. But that's neither here nor there.
Blockers, which are reversible.
Oh, yep, absolutely. It is easier for H-Bomb to go out and be like, God, how do you do the H-Bomb voice? I want a big fucking beard. Let's go out and get a big fucking beard with some of these hormones. Oh, yeah. I'm fucking terrible at it.
Some government ministers promise to reduce waiting times. But that's not equality.
Yeah, so also reducing waiting times is largely symbolic and a very difficult thing to do, because effectively what you would need to do is you'd need to be able to go out and put out there further what reducing those waiting times would look like. Like, how do you do that? Well, you would do that by effectively saying, okay, now you don't have to have all these letters opening up access to it. Conversely, additionally, you would need to add in additional like clinics and stuff to help take and adjust with these patients, because if you only have, say, 5 clinics in London, I don't know if that's an accurate number. London's a big fucking city. Now, obviously, it's going to be a much longer wait for all of these people to go get to see someone in that clinic. Whereas where I live, there's like 20 clinics, and we have less than 1 million people. It has a lot to do with the fact that, like, you're technically permanently ending the life of a fetus, versus the non-permanence of it would be that it was never, like, the pregnancy term isn't actually, like, pregnancy isn't actually a permanent condition, and there's no, like, redirective cause to say, oh, you cannot get pregnant ever again. Abortion just terminates that pregnancy. It doesn't terminate your entire ability to become pregnant. So it's permanent in the sense that that fetus no longer will be alive, but it's yeah, basically the sterilization versus abortion.
It's just more efficient discrimination. We don't have equal legal rights.
That's true. That's very true.
When cis people get married or adopt children, they can use their passport as proof of ID. But we can't. Even though my passport says F for female, I'd have to beg the government's permission to become a wife or a mother.
That's really strange. I actually did not know this. So this is kind of like interesting and eye-opening. I really hope this changes, because I know that in the States, like, we face our own set of discrimination versus, for adoption. But that's really strange that they have extra regulations. I've never heard of that. I will say, I really hope that she starts doing more, like, political streaming and, like, content easily, like, excuse me, less produced videos, and interludes those with more streaming videos. And I know that this channel does that, but I hope she kind of focuses more on this stuff, because I honestly, genuinely don't know a lot about being trans in the UK, and I think it's a very interesting subject. Conservative solution for reducing waiting time, autism diagnosis, would just raise the threshold. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
There has never been a trans MP, member of the House of Lords, MSP, MS, or MLA, and no party has equal rights as a policy goal.
So that, I do know that is true. I also will say, relative to the general size of the population, and I don't know how the British parliamentary structure or governmentary structure is set up, I do know it seems a bit more efficient than what we have here. However, we haven't seen anyone at the national level become a trans senator or a trans representative, and I don't, like, we've just finally seen one of the first people become the department, or the assistant secretary for Department of Health and Human Services, which I think is really fucking awesome. But that's like the highest ranking trans individual in the country. And well, I agree that this is a problem. It's more of a problem from a representation standpoint, but I don't know if it's because people aren't running or because there's a negative connotation around voting for that.
Trans people, especially trans people of color, are hit hardest by unemployment.
This is true around the world, by the way. America, trans women of color are like the most targeted group. We can even see that there's studies done on the amount of like violence that they face. It's not even comparable.
Homelessness and domestic, sexual, and police violence.
And that is something that is very true, again, for the whole world, like technically in the United States. And that's why I can only really talk to the US, because I'm most familiar with the U.S. because I live here, and that's the kind of political system that I kind of look to engage in and everything. But I would be surprised if that isn't the case here, where doctors have a right of refusal. So if a paramedic were to come up to me, like say I were to be out leaving a club or leaving a bar or something downtown, and I were to get shot, right? Someone calls an ambulance, paramedics get there. You know, it doesn't matter the reason, doesn't matter anything like that. I could just have been shot. The paramedics can look at me and be like, she's trans. No. And that's a completely legally admissible situation that they can't even charge them for. Like, they just be like, okay, well, you just said no. That's within your legal rights. For whatever reason. You can just tell them no. So there is no, like, and I would imagine that Great Britain has something very similar, or the UK has something very similar, where they have like some right of refusal or whatever for emergency care, which to me is really fucked up. But, you know, the world we live in.
But the conversation always focuses on wealthy white cis women tweeting about toilets. Overworked journalists.
I've gone into this on my own channel. You can see me talking about this down in... Basically, I have a few J.K. Rowling videos. Right here, J.K. Rowling and the Turf Lies, Blair White, White Knights for J.K. Rowling. God, there was something else that maybe I covered. I don't remember. It's been a while. But I talked about this in some of my own videos, too. And that is the overwhelming, prevailing conversation, which I would love to see get redirected. I really fucking would. Is that just behind? Well, no. The thing is even on the ambulance, even on the paramedics have, because they're providing because they're going through effectively a public service through 911, even if they're contracting out, they would still technically be required to have a non-discrimination policy and the whole like do no harm aspect, which I know is like a complete like non sequitur. They don't actually take an oath to be like do no harm. That's not something that actually happens, but there is a very valid point to be said about when you are someone who is offering first responders in a paramedic in a medical situation, you have a responsibility to, unless they have indicated otherwise, save the person's life. And it only exists if they're trans.
Journalists often don't know much about our lives, so anti-feminists and religious extremists feed them pseudoscience and fear-mongering.
This is also really true. There's another study that a lot of TERFs like to throw out that I really want to go over on stream. I just need to find the study again. But it basically has to do with, like, it's a huge talking point, and then, like, the person who published the study was like, this is completely wrong. Like, this isn't what we found at all. They just used the headline from the study to go out and push their own narrative.
Anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about a mythical trans lobby controlling universities and government are printed uncritically.
Hey, if you don't think the trans lobby exists, you're not paying attention. Listen, I'm out there every fucking day in the lobbies of colleges. Like, not doing anything, I'm just hanging out in the lobby.
Alongside calls to have us cured with conversion therapy.
Woo! Fuck. Oh, there's so much to go into conversion therapy. I'm gonna let her take it, though.
Shockingly, is still legal. Well-meaning
It's also largely legal in the States, too.
folks, like yourself, sometimes worry about embarrassing themselves by saying the wrong thing. So they don't speak up to help us.
This is also true. There's a lot of people, like, I've been in situations myself where someone at, okay, fun story. The previous job where I worked at a, it was like a farm credit place in Omaha where basically farmers could go through and then get federally backed loans through an independent crediting system that wasn't like big banks or anything, with low interest rates and all that. It was actually I really liked this. I really liked the idea of the system, but that's not the whole point in there. I had coworkers who were openly transphobic towards me and openly like borderline antagonistic, I'd say, and they would go through and do horrendous things and people in management, like actual management or people who were friends or whatever, would just be like, I didn't know what to say. And it's just like, well, the basic thing you should say is, hey, fucking stop. Or because I don't want to look bad, or, well, this person I know and this person I respect, and I don't want to risk my job or anything like that. Which, this is a huge fucking problem.
Like suffragettes and black civil rights movements before us, we are told to watch our tone, lest the people who are denying us the means to live get hurt feelings.
This is true too. We don't officially get told to do this. I don't think there's a legal stance on this, but this is a very common, like, white brunch liberal like policy position of like, oh, well, this is upsetting us, this conversation's upsetting us, we don't like this conversation, blah blah blah, XYZ. And it's a huge fucking problem. 100%, it's a huge fucking problem that needs to stop.
I might just be an actress,
Also, I really want to say I'm digging her outfit. I'm really digging her outfit.
but as a feminist, I can't submit to civic inferiority or give up control of my body. In my view, feminism isn't a tea party with the Queen or a girl boss brunch with femspirational CEOs.
That's true. There's a lot of people who do this, and like, I think there is something to be said about the performative aspects of feminism. I do think it's important. I do think it's really cool and really fun. But at the end of the day, we need to realize that feminism isn't just this performative aspect. It's a actual, real movement of change. And I think that there is one company that I try and like shill for as much as I can, but they do a pretty good job of this. It's Girl Clothing. They're insanely feministic, super trans positive. They got like the best workout clothing ever. Like, oh my god, it's fucking incredible. I need to get some more stuff from them. But they're super body positive, everything like that. All like, yeah, all great. And I think that they do a good balance between the two.
It's our common struggle to be free. Today, I'd like to add my voice to the many demanding new legislation for trans equal rights. That is, an informed consent system of medical transition and a self...
Yes, this is something that needs to happen across the world. I'm sorry. Informed consent is basically the way to go from now on. I don't think that... I think that for certain things, informed consent can be dangerous. Like, I'll use a really good example. I have ADHD. I think, ADHD is something that I was never diagnosed with because no one ever thought to look. But, looking it through, kind of understanding more about it myself, I was like, maybe I should talk to people. And I started talking to people about it, and then that's something that kind of came about. So it wasn't necessarily something that's not necessarily something I think informed consent can actually pull into and kind of be effective in, or not necessarily be effective in, but that can lead into a few strange situations. But I do think overall that informed consent is the best solution that we have for all of this. And I think it's important to understand that, like, informed consent doesn't mean like, oh my god, like, listen to me on everything, you have to listen to me, there is no other option, this is the option. Like, that's not what informed consent means. Informed consent just means I know my body better than anyone else, and I should be the one to make decisions on that.
ID system of legal transition for all who desire it, including non-binary people.
And I agree. Self-ID should be important. Now, I know there's conservatives and people like fucking, what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who would go out and be like, well, I can change my gender to this and be legally fine and then go into the bathroom this way and shit like that. And it's like, no one's actually taking these people seriously. They're just being dumbasses about it. Like, Gavin McInnes changed his legal ID to a female because he could, or some shit like that. And it's like, yes, we know you're very edgy. We know you're very, very, funny. Haha, whatever. Just stop. I had to study gender in a level of psychology in the last 2 double page, but at the end of the textbook chapter was the only bit that covered transgender people. And the last paragraph was like, oh yeah, non-binary genders. Just like, no, there is a criminal lack of scholarly literature on transgender and non-binary individuals. Like, it is really, bad. If I had the capabilities of writing a textbook, I fucking would. But I have no idea how to write a textbook.
Everyone else in Britain gets their healthcare and gendered services that way. Surely it's only fair that we do too.
Yeah. This, like, men can just go to a clinic and be like, hey, pee no hard. And then they say, okay, here blue pill, make pee hard. Like, that's literally how that works.
In my mind, there's no question about it. Just as there was no legitimate debate about whether to give gay and lesbian people equal rights. We don't cancel or silence flat earthers when we set aside their concerns about space travel and start listening to cosmonauts.
You know, maybe we should start canceling and not listening to flat earthers, but that's another conversation. But yeah, that is a problem.
That said, equal rights won't fix the poverty, criminalization, surveillance, and state violence facing all those who work for a living rather than own property and capital. Trans equality must be part of a huge redistribution of power and resources so society serves human need instead of profit. I
agree 100%, which is why I advocate for collective ownership of the means of production and larger worker rights. I have to be careful how I advocate for that from now on. For reasons I'll get into in a future stream. I don't know how much I can say right now.
I hope that someday soon, people of all ages...
Well, yeah, no, but informed consent isn't just knowing how meds work. Informed consent is just going to a clinic saying, hey, I want this medication for this reason. I am an adult and I recognize that. It's not like, hey, here's how this medication works. Here's how this will affect your body. Informed consent is just, you can have this med, which is why I think that, around certain medications, like, specifically like antidepressants are... I've been on about 4 different antidepressants, including Klonopin, and they affect you fucking horribly. I don't think that... I had to go out to the store today to get a refill on my prescription, because if I didn't get that refill, I would probably be vomiting this afternoon or evening. It literally puts me into withdrawal, which is how a lot of those antidepressants work. And I think it's important to know that, yes, you should be understanding what you're taking as far as a medicational level, but it's not a... informed consent is just you're a willing adult and can take whatever medication you like. All you need is ask. Certain things informed consent is perfect for, and I think is safe and valid for, but certain things you do need to have some sort of medical supervision for.
Realize that being trans is perfectly normal. Like all human beings, we are inherently valuable and entitled to self-determination. And if that makes some people uncomfortable,
very true.
Well, it's only because they're choosing not to live in reality.
Here's the thing. If anyone is uncomfortable by someone being trans, fucking die mad about it. That's all I'm going to say. Like, that's an entirely on you situation, and that's not on an individual being trans. That's just because you're choosing to be a bigot.
These are scary times. But courage calls to courage everywhere, and its voice cannot be denied. Even when other people make it hard, being trans is a gift.
Yeah, and I'm gonna I don't know which is gonna go into from here. Let's listen to it. No, I agree. My girlfriend put it in a really interesting way that I'd never thought about before, and I actually really like it. Being trans is just another way to experience being a woman or being a man or the world. It's not like a critical crutch of this is your entire identity and that's it. I feel like there's a lot of people that kind of get into that mindset where it's just a lens. It's part of your intersectionality. Like, I actually think that there's certain parts of me that speak louder than me just being trans. Like, I would consider myself long before, maybe not long before being trans. Like, I consider myself being trans as being a part of my identity, but that's not the entire thing. I love board games. I love video games. I love playing hockey. I love going to the gym and working out, even though fucking COVID's happening. I haven't been able to work out for a goddamn year. But yeah, being trans is just a part of your intersectionality. It's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I think it's an experience that a lot of people kind of don't understand.
Goes out to every trans person within the sound of my voice, in Britain or overseas, especially those who can't come out. Yet. This.
Okay, that was ominous. She knows something. Who's the next YouTuber to come out? Taking all bets. Over under on Ben Shapiro.
Above all, to thine own self be true. And it must follow as the night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man.
Okay, that's some Shakespeare shit. It's because being trans is most visible. Oh, well, yeah, but being trans is a hugely visible part, but that's not why it's like, oh my god, it's not, by no means is it like the biggest part. It's just it is visible, yes, but like, I feel like at the same level of surface, like that'd be like looking at a black person and being like, I'm making all these assumptions towards you because you're black. Or looking at someone who's Jewish and being like, I'm making all these assumptions about you because you're Jewish. Like, that's basically the same thing. But anyway, like, yeah, no, absolutely. And I've always basically said this, and I'm going to say this again. If you are trans or LGBT and you don't feel you have a safe place or a safe person to talk to about that, that's wrong, because you have me. My inbox is always open on YouTube, on Twitch. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Like, you can reach out to me. I will gladly talk with you about it. I will gladly walk you through situations. I know some people are in really, really complicated situations and really difficult situations. I get that. But I do believe that there's always something that you can do to positively move yourself forward. Because I've been in a lot of situations where it looked really dire for me, and it looked like I was never going to be getting out of that situation. But I did, and I'm still here. And I want people to understand that they have someone they can talk to. So, with that being said, I hope that if you've enjoyed this video, that you like, subscribe, leave a comment, come over, follow me on Twitch. Hell, subscribe to me on Twitch would be fucking awesome. But yeah, I really do appreciate all of it, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day. All right, talk to you later. I love all of you.